Most men navigate life completely unaware of their own impact. It's a curious truth of the male experience. We are often the last to know the impression we leave in our wake. You move through your days, perhaps seeing yourself as just another face in the crowd, another guy following the script: go to work, meet friends, go home. In this routine, it's easy to assume your presence is neutral, a background static in the lives of others, or even that it goes entirely unnoticed. This isn't necessarily a thought born from low self-esteem, but rather from a simple lack of data. We are taught to measure our worth by tangible metrics, achievements, possessions, clear victories. But the subtle, silent language of human attraction and respect operates on a frequency that most of us are never taught to tune into. What if this entire perception is a miscalculation? What if you've been walking around with a quiet magnetism, latent power that you've simply never been given the tools to recognize? This isn't about the fleeting advantage of conventional good looks or the temporary spotlight of a loud achievement. Those are surface level, and their effects are often short-lived. The attraction we're discussing here is far more potent and resilient because it is rooted in something deeper and more compelling. A resonant energy. A psychological presence that commands attention without a single word being spoken. It's an aura of calm authority that precedes you and lingers after you've left the room. This unspoken language is what makes a stranger subtly straighten their posture as you walk by. It's what causes a conversation to hush for a moment when you enter a space, not out of fear, but out of instinctive respect. It's the reason a woman might hold your gaze for a heartbeat longer than necessary, communicating 1,000 words in a silence that feels heavier, more significant than any noise. You might have dismissed these moments as coincidences, or attributed them to something else entirely, because the idea that they are a reaction to you, to your core energy, seems too abstract, too improbable. But these reactions are the data points you've been missing. They are the proof that you are operating with a level of influence you failed to account for. The following signs are not a checklist to strive for, but a lens through which to re-examine your past experiences. They are your guide to decoding the feedback the world has been giving you all along. This is about seeing yourself as you truly are perceived, which is often far more magnetic and capable than the internal narrative you've constructed. This is the art of effortless attraction, and the first step is simply becoming aware that you may already be practicing it without even knowing. It's about realizing that the power wasn't something you needed to acquire, but something you needed to learn to see. The ability to shift the energy of a room simply by entering it is one of the most tangible signs of a deep, unspoken attraction. This isn't about making a grand entrance or being the center of a loud announcement. In fact, it operates in direct opposition to those concepts. This is a form of silent power, a psychological dominance that is felt before it is seen. Think of a time you walked into a space, a party, a meeting, a restaurant, and felt a subtle shift. You noticed eyes turning toward you, not with alarm, but with a quiet acknowledgement. It's a sensation that can be easy to dismiss or attribute to paranoia. But more often than not, it's a real response to the energy you are projecting. The key is to understand that this reaction is not triggered by your appearance in a superficial sense, but by the totality of your presence, which is communicated through a language more primal than words. This phenomenon separates those who blend into the background from those who unconsciously command the foreground. The man who blends in is often physically present, but psychologically absent. He may be hunched, looking at his phone, or his attention is scattered, seeking a place to belong. The man who shifts the atmosphere carries an entirely different quality. It's visible in his physicality. His shoulders are back, not in a puffed-up, aggressive display, but with a relaxed ownership of his own frame. His head is held high, his gaze calm and taking in the environment without frantic scanning. He moves with a sense of purpose, even if that purpose is as simple as finding a seat. There is no rush, no apology in his movement. This composure broadcasts a fundamental message of self-assurance. It tells everyone in the room without a word that he is comfortable in his own skin and, by extension, comfortable occupying space in the world. The reactions to this presence are immediate and varied, yet they all point to the same conclusion. Women are particularly adept at sensing this energy. It registers not as a threat, but as a signal of latent strength and stability qualities that are deeply attractive on a fundamental level. They don't see a man trying to prove something. They see a man who already knows his own value. This is inherently magnetic. For other men, the reaction is more complex, often rooted in a subconscious hierarchy. They will either offer immediate respect, deferring subtly in conversation or posture, or they will become defensive, perhaps squaring their shoulders or challenging opinions more forcefully. This defensiveness is not a sign that you have done something wrong. It is a testament to your impact. They perceive you as competition because your calm authority challenges their own standing. This silent command is the bedrock of attraction because it is authentic. It cannot be faked for long. It is the external manifestation of an internal state. It's the result of moving through the world with a sense of agency, of believing you have a right to be where you are. When you stop making yourself small, when you stop seeking permission to occupy your own space, the world unconsciously grants you a wider berth. People are naturally drawn to those who seem centered and self-possessed because it is a rare and valuable quality. So, if you have ever walked into a place and felt the collective attention tilt in your direction, understand that it was not an accident. It was a response to the silent signal you were sending that you are a man who belongs, and whose presence, by its very nature, matters. While the silent command of a room establishes a broad presence, true attraction is most powerfully communicated in the minute. Intimate exchanges that happen between individuals. These are the moments where potential is either ignited or extinguished. And they hinge on two critical elements: the unspoken dialogue of the eyes and the resonant quality of the voice. This is where theory meets practice, where your internal state becomes externally tested in the most immediate ways. It is in these subtle interactions that a woman gauges not just your interest, but your fundamental caliber as a man. The power of a held gaze cannot be overstated. In a world of constant distraction, sustained eye contact is an act of profound focus and courage. Women are instinctively vigilant about who they allow into their visual space. A fleeting glance is commonplace, but a gaze that lingers for a second too long is a conscious and significant signal. This is a critical test. In that extended moment, she is reading everything. She is assessing your confidence. Do you have the strength to hold the connection without aggression? She is measuring your intent. Is your look one of appreciation or predation? If you break away too quickly, you signal insecurity, a lack of conviction. If you stare too intensely without relief, you project neediness or aggression, making her feel uncomfortable. The balance is found in holding the gaze with calm assurance, acknowledging the connection, and then confidently, slowly, looking away as if the intensity of the moment was something you were perfectly comfortable with. This demonstrates that you are not desperate for the validation her attention provides. Perhaps even more telling are the situations where a woman pointedly avoids making eye contact with you at all. This is not always a sign of disinterest. Often, it is because the prospect of locking eyes with you feels too intense, too loaded with a connection she is not yet ready to acknowledge. In both cases, the prolonged gaze and the deliberate avoidance are the catalyst. You are generating a reaction strong enough to disrupt her normal patterns of behavior. Similarly, the way you command conversations reveals the depth of your inner confidence. Magnetic men understand that communication is not about the volume of words, but the weight they carry. They feel no need to fill every silence with nervous chatter, understanding that a pause can build anticipation and demonstrate comfort. When they speak, their voice tends to be calm, deeper, and deliberate. This isn't a Putin affectation. It is the natural sound of a man who is centered and whose thoughts are not racing. He speaks from his diaphragm, not his throat, projecting a vibration that is felt as much as it is heard. This vocal quality commands attention because it suggests authority and self-control. When you speak in this manner, you will notice people, and women in particular, leaning in physically. They will ask more questions, engaging not just with the content of your words, but with the person behind them. They are hooked because you are giving off the energy of a man who knows his own mind. You are not seeking approval through your speech. You are simply expressing your perspective, and that inherent lack of neediness is incredibly attractive. It transforms a simple exchange from a search for validation into an opportunity for genuine connection, proving that the most powerful statements are often made not with words. Beyond the direct interactions of gaze and conversation lies a more subtle, yet equally powerful, dimension of attraction, the unconscious gravitational pull you exert on the physical and social environment around you. This is not about anything you actively do or say, but rather about the passive reactions you elicit simply by being who you are. It manifests in the way people instinctively navigate your space, and in the seemingly coincidental ways they find themselves drawn into your orbit. These behaviors are deeply rooted in our primal psychology, where authority and value are communicated through nonverbal cues of dominance and desirability, and they serve as a clear indicator that you are being perceived as a high-status individual. The first sign is the unconscious respect people show for your personal space. In the intricate dance of human movement, especially in crowded places like a busy street, a bar, or a public transport terminal, there is a constant, subtle negotiation of territory. Most people are bumped into, jostled, or forced to actively navigate around others. However, a man who carries himself with an air of quiet authority often finds that the crowd seems to part for him. People will take a subtle step aside, adjust their path, or make room without being asked. This is not a conscious decision on their part. It is a primal, instinctual response to perceived confidence. Your posture, your pace, the unwavering direction of your gaze, all of these signal a claim to your territory that others unconsciously acknowledge. For a woman observing this, or experiencing it herself, the implication is significant. She interprets this automatic deference as a social proof of your importance. Her mind, often without her conscious awareness, makes a connection. If everyone else is instinctively giving this man space, he must be someone of value. In the calculus of attraction, being perceived as valuable is a potent accelerant. The second, more targeted sign is when a specific individual, particularly a woman, begins to find creative excuses to inhabit that space you command. Attraction, when it is genuine, creates a magnetic urge to close the physical distance. However, social conventions and a desire to maintain plausible deniability prevent most women from making a direct approach. Instead, they engage in a subtle choreography of proximity. You might notice her accidentally ending up in your vicinity multiple times throughout an evening, at the gym. She uses a machine near yours. At a social gathering, she finds a reason to stand close to where you are talking. These are not random events. They are calculated placements. The excuses for interaction become equally telling. She might ask a trivial question she already knows the answer to, comment on something in the immediate environment, or laugh a little too readily at a remark you made that wasn't intended as a joke. These are all tests of the magnetic field, small probes to see if you will pick up on the signal and engage. She is intentionally placing herself within your reach, hoping you will take the initiative. This behavior is the clearest possible sign of interest, because the opposite is equally true. A woman who is not attracted will consciously or unconsciously take measures to avoid your space, creating distance and minimizing interaction. When she is deliberately bridging that gap, she is actively being drawn in by the gravitational pull of your presence. The journey through these signs culminates not in a list of tricks, but in a fundamental realization. The common thread weaving through every one of these reactions is not your genetics, your wardrobe, or a set of learned lines. It is your energy. This is the core truth that separates lasting attraction from fleeting manipulation. Energy is the invisible currency of human interaction, the sum total of your beliefs, your confidence, and your presence that you broadcast to the world every moment of every day. When you begin to own your space, move with unspoken purpose, and speak with the conviction that comes from self-knowledge, this energy shifts. It becomes coherent, potent, and magnetic, and the world, in turn, has no choice but to shift in response to you. This is the point where you stop chasing and start attracting. This shift is profound because it moves you from a state of seeking validation to a state of providing value. The man who is unaware of his impact is often looking for external signs to confirm his worth. He seeks approval through agreement, tries to win affection through favors, and attempts to command respect through force or volume. This neediness is palpable and is the ultimate repellent. However, when you become conscious of the attractive energy you already possess, that desperate need evaporates. You no longer enter a room hoping to be accepted. You enter it offering your presence. This is a complete reversal of dynamics. You are not taking energy from the room. You are contributing a stable, confident energy to it. This is what people are truly drawn to: a source of calm, self-assured strength that asks for nothing in return. The final step, then, is integration. Paying attention to these signs is not about collecting compliments or tallying victories. It is about gathering data to rewrite your internal narrative. Each time you notice a woman hold your gaze, each time you feel a room adjust to your presence, each time you find someone creating an excuse to be near you, you are receiving a piece of evidence. This evidence systematically dismantles the old story you may have told yourself, the story of being overlooked, average, or invisible. It replaces it with a new, evidence-based reality that you are a man of impact. This awareness is self-reinforcing. Knowing you are perceived as attractive makes you more confident, and that increased confidence makes you even more attractive. It creates a positive feedback loop that elevates every interaction. So the ultimate sign that you possess this rare, effortless attraction is the quiet confidence that grows within you. It's the ability to move through the world, not as a spectator hoping for a chance, but as a conscious participant who understands his own role in the dance of social dynamics. Once you learn to see the signs, you cannot unsee them. They become a part of your perception, a lens that clarifies your place in the world. This realization is not the end of the journey. It is the true beginning. It is the moment you stop trying to become attractive and start understanding that you have been attractive all along. And that, more than any single technique or piece of advice, is what changes everything.